Good afternoon, Owl parents. Mr. Hagedorn here with our weekly update. Hope everybody had a great track out. We're off to a good start. Next week, report cards will go home early in that week, maybe Monday, maybe Tuesday, we're not sure, but somewhere in that range. A normal 5-day week next week. In math class, we have started in Math 6 Plus this week. We started our first 7th grade unit, which is scale drawings. So we started talking about how to scale factor can make our original pictures larger or smaller. We're going to continue that into next week, start looking at more things like maps and some more realistic situations rather than just shapes. We will have our study guide on Wednesday, and our first quiz of the quarter will be on Thursday. In Math 6, we've started our geometry unit this week. This week we spent talking about finding the area of parallelograms. Next week we're going to move on to finding the area of some triangles. We will then have our study guide on probably Thursday and Friday, and our quiz the following Monday. That might change just a day or two. That might be pushed back a day. So our study guide will definitely be next week. Quiz will probably be the following week. Spiral 5 was also posted today, the first spiral that'll be due next week. All right, have a great weekend. We'll see you on Monday.
Hey everybody, hope you've had a great week. I just wanted to begin by reminding everybody that the ELA check-in is on Monday. So if you could please make sure your child gets a great night's sleep and comes to school prepared and ready to take that. As far as what we did this week, we finished up our characterization projects for Percy Jackson, which turned out amazing. I put them all up, well, most of them up, the one on the wall, and I'm going to take a picture and send it out because it just looks amazing. I was so proud of all of their hard work. This week we began Module 2, Unit 1. Adversity in the Middle Ages. We talked about what adversity means, and we started a background information about the Middle Ages and discussed the social classes and all that stuff. Next week, we're going to be reading some informational texts about the Middle Ages, and the kids will practice citing evidence and writing summaries and practicing with main idea and the with informational text, and then the unit will wrap up eventually with an essay that the kids are going to write. They're going to pick out a group, a social class group like peasants or lords and ladies, and then write about the adversities that that group experienced. But I'll give out more information about that as it gets closer. Have a great weekend.
All right, happy tracking, Family 6-4. In science, we started our second. We have two really big units in science. And the first one, as you could tell, was in the first quarter, was all matter, all quarter. The second major big one is waves. They go back to back. There's a reason for it. It's because all of the other units that we pass on throughout the year come back to these two units quite often. And so we started our wave unit on Monday. We did the general things about wave. This week, if you ask the kids, there's a lot of vocab that we've been dealing with, trying to figure out all these new words. And then some of these new words also are found on different illustrations, so they have to figure out labels of where to put these words. So we had a lot of just trying to get familiar with the new content, start to use that content in applications with different examples, and starting to make connections with how do I see this in the real world? What does that term mean on this paper? Where do I see it? And then we've been doing that for most of the week. Next week, we're going to start getting into actually using the terms. So we're going to do some, we're going to build a wave machine on Monday. We have NC check-in in the morning, so I figured we'd do a quicker hands-on activity to get a little brain break in the afternoon. So we're going to build a wave machine on Monday afternoon, and then we're going to do wave mini labs. It's not because they're small, it's because they're short. So we're going to do these 4 short mini labs that will talk about different mechanical and EM waves and the different wave movements we're going to be using. And then we're going to do an 8-question activity on Wednesday that's followed up by a 7-question thing on Thursday. And it's basically a collaborative questioning, and you take bigger chunks and you get into a deeper questioning dive on the second day. And then on Friday, we're going to end it with a Canvas check-in. And then we'll move on to sound after that. So have a wonderful weekend. Weather's looking good still.
Okay, and to end us off, we'll talk about some social studies as we are now in our second quarter and we are now into our next or third unit. The unit we're in now is starting with religion. We talk about grapes, so G-R-A-P, we are in the R, but that is not just a unit on religion. It's a unit on culture, tradition, and basic religious beliefs. And so the first week of school, we've been talking about kind of some definitions of what is culture, how do we show culture, what's visible culture, what's invisible culture, what's tradition, what does that word mean in traditional kind of ways of doing things and passing things down. So we've been kind of basic this week on culture and tradition. This is a good time of year, though, to talk about culture and tradition because we have Halloween coming up, a tradition, and what do you do on your traditions for Halloween? We talk about the different things that happen around Thanksgiving, the different things that happen around the religious holidays that come at this time of the year as well. So we'll next week be getting a little bit more into the idea of basic beliefs. We're going to start with the idea, and we started a little bit with this today, of paganism and what paganism is historically. We're then moving into polytheism and the idea of what kind of religions believe in many gods, and that's what we'll basically be talking about that for most of next week. We have, a short day on Monday, so we don't have a lot of time to do social studies, and the rest of the week we'll kind of carry that on with kind of basic early belief systems. So that's where we are in social studies. Hopefully you have a wonderful weekend, and we'll see you back here next week.